Dr. Betty Uribe is the Executive Vice President at California Bank and Trust. For nearly 3 decades, Dr. Uribe has been transforming business, culture, and people through values-based leadership. A recognized authority on the psychology of leadership, organizational turnarounds, and peak performance, Dr. Uribe is also the author of the internationally best-selling book, #Values, the secret to top-level performance in business and life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Betty Uribe.
Go for it. For tomorrow, are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, well, say hi to Facebook because you're live. Say hi. Woo! Yay! There's everybody. Okay, so all these people are saying hi, everyone. All right, so I'm going to have to let you go for a little bit because I've got a little presentation to do. So I'll come back to you. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life, and I'm going to tell you about my story. And my intention is, by the time we finish today, by the time you walk out those doors, you're going to have some tools that you're going to take with you. So if you have a blank sheet of paper, you probably want to get it in front of you and grab a pen, because I guarantee you, you're going to have some good stories, and you're going to have a toolkit that you're going to take with you as a result of the next 20 minutes. But before I start, let me tell you who I am. And this is just kind of a list of who I am. Can you see this? Yes. Behind me. Oh, perfect. You could see that. Then I'm standing in front of it. So my values, the first thing I do when I interview someone is I find out what their values are. And my values are God, family, job, education, health, and community, in that order. That's what I stand for, and everything I do in my life is under that umbrella. I'm a mother of 3. Christopher is 32 years old, and when he was little, when he was 4 years old, I would teach him how to become a gentleman. And I would walk up to a door, and I would say, okay, now you're the gentleman, so you have to walk up in front of me, and then you have to open the door. So he would walk up, and he would grab the door and open the door for me, and then I would walk over. The same thing, teaching him how to hold the chair for me. I would say, you have to come up and hold the chair for me. So he would walk up and hold the chair for me and pull it back, and then I would come back and I would say, now push the chair up a little bit. He would push it up, and then now today he's 32 and his mother-in-law loves him. Alexandria is 21 years old. She's going to be 22 at the end of this year, and at the end of this month, and she lives in Provo in Utah. And Sandra Nicole is my baby, and I'm going to tell you a story about Sandra that's just going to bring tears to your eyes in just a little bit. I'm an executive vice president for California Bank and Trust. I run a $3.5 billion operation, and I do turnarounds in banks. In fact, some of my staff is here. They surprised me this morning right there. Love you guys. And we have done just an incredible turnaround with the help of Senior Vice President Angela and some of her people and other folks. The bank has been named as the best turnaround in the world by Corporate Executive Board. They did a case study, and I presented in Chicago to 30 banks around the world as the best-in-class turnaround. I'm going to tell you how we do all of this in 20 minutes. So I'll give you a very high level of what we do, but we do everything based on values. I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 19. My first company was an engineering and manufacturing company. Ladies, Kaiser Permanente's Gynecological Light, the previous one, the previous version, that was my light. That's my claim to fame. Thank you. That was my very first company. And I've been a serial entrepreneur. I inherited my father's transportation company from South America, and I ran it from here. I'm a scholar. I got a doctorate in organizational leadership from Pepperdine University. I broke a record, did it in 3 years because I really wanted to do it, the whole thing, before I turned 50. Yes, I am over 50. Of course, I have a 32-year-old, so there you go. And now, you know, it's like breaking any record. It's like the 2-minute mile. There was one person that had to break the 2-minute mile, and then right after that 2-minute mile, then what? Other people were doing it. Well, guess what? We now have a model, and at Pepperdine, you can get your doctorate in 3 years now, which is fantastic. So nonprofit involvement, I'm very much involved with nonprofits, and what you're going to hear today is about giving back to kids. And one specific nonprofit is the Give Something Back Foundation that is donating $1 million for kids to go to college, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a little bit. I love the community, love going back to the community and giving back, because I feel like if it's been given to me and I have the privilege to give back, then why not give back? And also a citizen of the world. I've been called in different countries as I travel to speak, because every country I go to, I feel like I'm right at home. It doesn't matter. I just came back from Luxembourg after my book came out, and I've been invited to go back and speak to the Grand Duke, the royal family, the Prime Minister, and the Cabinet about values, which I'm very excited about. And I was there, and I just felt right at home. I was in Kenya last year giving scholarships in Kenya, and I felt right at home. I went to Italy, I felt right at home. Everywhere I go, so I just feel like I'm a citizen of the world. And the book came out on January 17th, and by January 18th, the book became an international bestseller. So I was very fortunate and very blessed. Thank you very much. So that's a little bit about me, but this is really how my life story is. This is what you see, and sometimes when you see somebody up at the podium and you see them that they're all so put together, you don't realize what their story is. Well, this is what my life is like, and this is what my story was like. So I want to read a letter to you that is in my book on page 256, and the actual letter that I got from my daughter, Sandra Nicole. She was 17 years old, freshman year in college, and I get a text from her, and the text says, "Read your mail." So I got up and read this letter. Dear Mom, I remember the first time you told me the story. It was getting close to my 12th birthday, and you wanted to share with me why that age was so significant to you. You told me that it was at that age that you came to America from Colombia. I could tell that it was something that was extremely important to you, but at the time I didn't realize how truly significant it was. I was 12 years old when my mother, how truly significant it was. Recently, you sent me the story from your point of view. It went something like this. I was 12 years old when my mother sat my 3 brothers and me down for a serious conversation. She was tired of the life she was living with my father and wanted to leave the country. My father, a self-made millionaire, suffered from alcoholism, and my mother suffered from spousal abuse and my father's infidelity. She was moving to the U.S. and gave us a choice. I could either stay with my father and we would never need anything as his wealth would take good care of us. As I was Daddy's little girl, I knew I would be well taken care of. Or I could leave the country with my mother where we would be starting again with little money or no education. However, we would have peace, something I had longed for a long time. We never had to worry about my father coming home drunk to beat up my mother and brothers, and we would be free to go to church and work for a living to succeed in a new life. We chose to leave with my mom. Fernando was 19, Ricky was 14, I was 12, and Carlitos was 6 years old. Upon arrival, my Aunt Ruby taught me etiquette, and we stayed with her for 3 months, and I'll tell you the reason why she taught me etiquette in just a little bit. The basics of the American culture is something else she taught me, and the basics of the English language. For 3 months, I studied and was able to put simple sentences together. We moved to a 2-bedroom apartment where the church we started attending brought us groceries weekly. We could not afford groceries. And we purchased clothes at the garage sales. Imagine after having 12 years old, after having your entire wardrobe changed completely, brand new every year, to buying secondhand clothes at the garage sale. It was actually really good for me because I was kind of a stuck-up little girl. And so coming here was the best thing that happened. Anyway, I began helping with household expenses by cleaning neighbors' houses and babysitting. Your uncles Fernando and Ricky worked in my Uncle Ivan's machine shop, and my mother worked in a factory sewing jeans. She got paid 25 cents for every finished pair of jeans. My mother was 45 years old. She was exhausted when she came home. So I also became the housekeeper. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't even know how to make my own bed because we had maids back home, but I had to learn how to be the housekeeper. And so I cooked. I burnt the food most of the time, but I cooked for my family and helped raise my little brother, my little 6-year-old brother. I had to learn how to make my bed since, you know, we had maids and stuff. Education was important to me, so I stayed up late at night after finishing my household duties. That was my life until I got my first real job at the age of 15. At the time, you know, I always say don't lie. That is the one lie I've done. And I said I was 18 years old so I could get this job. And they took me in. I don't think I could, then my daughter says, I don't think I could really fully understand the significance of what you did for me until much later. It is for this reason that I wanted to take the time to officially thank you for what you have done for me. Ladies, I want you to listen to this because it's Mother's Day weekend coming up, and this is the letter that all the mothers, if you have little girls, if you have little boys, this is the letter that your children are going to be writing to you when they're grown up. Whether they write it physically or not, this is what they mean to say. And think about your life and think about what you do today and what it means tomorrow for you. Words cannot fully describe how much you mean to me and how thankful I am for your sacrifice, but with this letter I will try. Growing up, you worked a lot and I resented it. How many of you feel like you work a lot and you feel guilty? Come on, raise your hands. Ladies, we're born with an extra gene. Did you know that? Scientifically proven. Women are born with an extra gene. It's called the guilt gene. So if you didn't feel guilty when you're going out and working, you will, but listen to what my daughter says because she's really speaking for everyone. I got her permission to read this to you, and I got her permission to print her letter in the book so that it would make a difference for others. Growing up, you worked a lot, and I resented that, and I would cry when you left for your business trips and would continue to be sad until you came home. Oh boy, did she let me know it. I realize now that you didn't have a choice. You were just doing your job and providing for a broken family just as you have done all your life. I was ungrateful and I apologize for that. You came to this country with practically nothing but the clothes on your back and made a name for yourself. You later married my dad and had my sister and me, and then when tragedy struck, interesting how she calls it tragedy, and you realized that my dad was cheating on you, you were forced to up and leave once again. It is these difficult decisions that made me realize how strong you are, and I thank you for that. Our kids look at our actions. Talk is cheap. It's our actions. That's how we teach them. I want to thank you for raising my sister and me the way you did and for always trying to be there for us. You're a role model, and I'm so thankful for all the sacrifices you have made for us. I look at my family I have in Colombia and how women are treated, and I realize that that could have been me. Ever since then, you have fought to make a name for yourself and to make a difference for others around you, and I admire you so much for that. As I am in college now and starting a new chapter in my life, I realize how different my life could have been. Without you, every aspect of my life would be so different. I would most likely not be getting to college education now. I was talking to one of my cousins and how she is not going to college, and it's okay with her, and that's not okay with me. And I realize just how lucky I am. You are the role model, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the sacrifice you made to come to this country. You're the strongest person I know, and you have this determination within you to make a difference for those around you that is inspiring. Your love for life and appreciation for everything you have is so contagious, and I love that about you. You have been through so much in your life, yet you continue to striving to make yourself a better person every day. You have taught me what it is like to forgive through your actions and not just your words. I will always remember something you used to say when I was younger. La vida es linda sabiéndola vivir. Life is beautiful knowing how to live it. Because of you, I can see the beauty in life. I love you so much, and I hope that you know just how thankful I am for everything you have done for me. Love, Sandra. So now you know a little bit about my story. So in 24 hours, I went from riches to rags in just an airplane ride. A little bit of some early lessons when I came from Colombia. I was in junior high. I was 12 years old, seventh grade, and they moved me up. And I remember one kid came up to me and said, I didn't speak English, I didn't speak enough. And so one of the kids said, "You're stupid, aren't you?" And of course, I'm the kind of person that I always have been, that I don't want to miss out. So I would say yes. And of course, everybody would start laughing at me. So my wall came up. I don't know, how many of you have had walls come up? And if you don't raise your hand, you're probably, well, I'm not going to call you anything. But, so my wall, let me tell you about my wall. My wall was about this thick, and it goes all the way around, and it's like a cylinder, and it's clear. You could see through it. And I remember when my wall came up for the very first time in my life, I was 12 years old, and I said, "You can see me, but you can't hurt me." And you know what that wall did for me? Yes, it kept me safe, but it also kept me from trusting. It kept me from loving freely. It kept me from trusting other people. It kept me from stepping out and from walking out and being out there. So it wasn't until I worked on myself and really worked on forgiving myself first and forgiving the people around me when I finally was able to come out. I went to the school, and the school told me that I had to go to an occupational center. And I wanted to find out what university I wanted to go to. And they said, "No, honey, you just go to an occupational center." Well, by golly, I got myself educated anyway. I bought a book called Being a Woman. And that Being a Woman, does anybody remember Dr. Tony Grant? She was a radio personality. She wrote this book, Being a Woman. Buy that book for yourself. Buy that book for your children, for your girlfriends, for everybody. I have recommended it. And you know what that book taught me? And it wasn't so much about being a woman. Gentlemen, this is for you too. Is being comfortable in my own skin, and how important it is for me to be comfortable in my own skin. And for me, the beauty of being a woman. Isn't it wonderful that we get to be sexy, and we get to look good, and we also get to have a good head on our shoulders and stand up and be who we are and be comfortable in our own skin? I love being a woman. I love having a gentleman next to me, love to be treated like a lady, and how wonderful it is that we could just be ourselves. My Aunt Ruby taught me etiquette because she said that someday you're going to be dying with the President of the United States. That was at the age of 12. 10 years later, I was dining with President Bush. Be careful what you say to kids. Be careful what you say, because they're going to remember it, and they're going to internalize it. So the life lesson is know your values. Yes, that is me on the right side. I was changing the brakes a couple of years ago in my car. I rebuilt my first engine when I was 19 years old. Know your values. Know what you want, and don't stop until don't be afraid until you get it. The book came out, and I've had access to all of these people and more. A lot of these people are in my book. I'm not going to go through them for the sake of time. Does anybody here have a belief system that prevents you from making a promise? Okay, would you raise your hand, please? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Come on. I'm going to swear you in. I'm going to promise you in. I solemnly promise that what I'm going to hear will only be repeated with the people in this room. So help me, Michelle Patterson. So I was invited to speak to somebody from the Pentagon, and I said, you know, can I have breakfast with you tomorrow? He said, well, I have a Bible study. I said, well, can I come? So listen to this, because I asked, can I come, means how many times in our life do we stay quiet and we don't say something, or we don't raise our hand, or we don't speak up? But I said, can I come? And he said, you can come. I thought, okay, well, what's the big deal? It's just a Bible study. Turns out the Bible study is held in a secret place. I can't tell you the name because even people from the White House don't know about this place. It's in an extension of the White House where the U.S. president brings dignitaries and heads of state when they don't want paparazzi. This is where they host them. So I went to the place, and this is a picture, a literal picture of the place. You walk in, and it's decorated with just like the White House. Imagine you're inside of the White House. And so later, I thought, oh, I'm going to go to D.C. So I called the general. Hey, I'm going to D.C. Can I come again with you? And he said, I'm not going to be in D.C. So I said, can I come anyway? How many of you would have asked, can I come anyway? Good for you, because most of us would not, but I did. I thought, well, why not? So I got a letter from the general that said, dear Betty, you're a friend for life and beyond. You have access to the blank place for life. For life. You don't have to ask. So guess what? My heart was thumping, but I showed up anyway, all by myself. And when I showed up, oh my goodness, everybody was like, Betty, we haven't seen you for the longest time. And I thought, I'm walking by where the general usually sits because he started this thing. And so all of a sudden, I have to wrap up, so I'm going to finish this really quickly. And so all of a sudden, this is what they said: you sit in the general's chair. So I have this picture here because I want you to think about what that means to you. I got to sit in the chair, but I'm not the only one that gets to sit in the chair. You get to sit in the chair. All of us get to sit in the chair just by stepping out of our comfort zone, stepping out into the light, and just being comfortable in who we are, understanding our values and being comfortable with who we are. And so in January, I took the book to the White House and gave it to dignitaries, to Congress people, to senators, and all over the place. But it's been taking me also to the Vatican. There's a page-and-a-half letter of endorsement from the Vatican of my book, recommending that every leader in the world read the book, which is amazing to me. But the most important thing is values. And these are my values, right? God, family, job, education, health, and community. So the life lesson is know what you want and don't be afraid, but you've got to want it bad enough. In that picture, Juan Carlos and I were almost horizontal, and we could have fallen, but it was because of our desire to just stay up there. You have to want it that badly. This is Dr. Betty's top 10. I'm not going to go through them. They're in the book. It's chapter 10. But these are some of the things that I stand for. So if you want to take a picture of it, you can. But giving hope is something that I want to talk to you about because I'm going to unveil something. And I'm going to ask Mary to come up here. Mary came from the Give Something Back Foundation. This is Mary Ashley, Assistant District Attorney for the San Bernardino County. And she is an ambassador for the Give Something Back Foundation, and I have asked Mary to come and speak a little bit about the organization, but there is a story where I went to Israel, and I was told, when I bid on a sculpture, I was told, this Nicky Imber, who is the artist who made the sculpture, he was in a concentration camp, and he made a mask out of bread and water, and he walked out of the concentration camp wearing this mask, the mask of his guard. And when he walked out, he said, I'm going to make sure that nobody ever in the world forgets about the Holocaust. Well, when he went in, he made a sculpture that is of a woman holding the baby up. It's called the Hope Sculpture. I went in there. He actually was commissioned by the Vatican to finish all of the work for Michelangelo. And he did the sculpture for the US president, and he did it all over. So when I bid on the sculpture, when I said, hey, how much for the sculpture? He said, well, you know, this is how much. And I couldn't negotiate it. I said, okay. And all of a sudden, I found out later that this particular sculpture had been bid for when Nikki Imber passed away, and by 60 people. 60 different museums had bid on the sculpture. And the rabbi said no. The rabbi said, you will know the person who's supposed to have the sculpture. They will walk into your gallery and you will know the moment they walk in. Nikki Imber has been dead since the 1970s. And so when I walked in, they knew, and he said, I want you to know that you were the one that was supposed to have the sculpture. So I was able to purchase the sculpture. And I asked him, how did you know that it was me who was supposed to have the sculpture? And he said, the rabbi and I stood in the back. We have cameras here, and we watched you from the moment you walked in, and we watched you see, and we just knew that it was you. There were many people that were supposed to buy the sculpture, but for the grace of God, I am the one that's supposed to have it. And it's the Hope Sculpture, so if you will humor me, I'm going to ask Mary to help me unveil it to you for the first time in a big audience like this. So it's a woman, and this represents all of us. This represents the hope that we give to our children, but it also represents the hope that we're giving to kids here in Southern California as a result of the Give Something Back Foundation. Mary, would you tell them a little bit about it?
I will. Thank you. I love this theme. Thank you for having me. I have the best job in the world as a career prosecutor, and right next door in San Bernardino County. And over the past 20 years doing that, working with victims, working with children, trying to offer hope, being hopeful that things work out for them, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it hasn't. So in my search for volunteer work and mentoring and partnering with organizations, Give Something Back has been the first true organization that I have seen that offers actual, tangible hope to children. Many organizations are well-intended, they're illusory, and perhaps they're not sustainable. Robert Owen Carr is the founder of Give Something Back, an extraordinarily generous gentleman who has brought his organization to California. We just had our first check ceremony 2 days ago, right next door at Cal State San Bernardino, where Mr. Carr presented Cal State with $1 million. And what he does is secure spots for kids within the next 4 years after they go through mentorship in high school. He promises them 4 years tuition-free, debt-free college education paid for. Why he's doing this is because he suffered adverse childhood effects. He grew up poor. He grew up with a parent that was not the best. And he's targeting children that I've worked with, children that have been abused, that have been victimized, that are in foster care, that have their parents incarcerated, that have suffered homelessness. These are the kids, like Bob, who were told, you can't go to college, that's not a possibility for you, don't even think about it, that's not going to be your plan. So instead of allowing our next generation, who are bright, smart kids who just need the opportunity and the means to do so, he's offering them that very path. I welcome all of you to learn more about Give Something Back. There'll be an opportunity for you to do that on Dr. Betty's website and an event this afternoon and this evening, so that when you leave this conference, know that you have an opportunity to participate, to truly give back to kids right here in Southern California who need your help and your leadership and your mentorship and volunteerism. Thank you very much.
So come and join us tonight. We have a VIP event at 6 o'clock over in the Bogart room with Michelle. and come and join us. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I just ask you that if you took some things down, if you wrote them down, that you pay them forward. And I'm going to ask you also that as a mother and as a woman, that you take the time to step out of your comfort zone, know your values, make your decisions based on your values, because when you make your decisions based on your values, your decisions will always be right. Thank you so much.